Another Jeep, another day. What do we got here, Jack?
Little slice of Italy. This comes with a side of marinara, Mark.
I don't see the marinara, but I would like it. Actually, this makes me want to take a trip to Olive Garden for some breadsticks on unlimited salads.
You just swim around in some soup later?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at the JL Wrangler, which if you haven't watched our JL Wrangler video, which is so comprehensive, it will probably give you some type of brain damage. So we're not going to cover all that. We're just going to talk about the Eco Diesel that's now in this for the first time. And people are
excited.
They're
excited. Storming showrooms, Mark. It's like Black Friday.
What's the deal? Tell me about it.
So this is the same Eco Diesel that we reviewed in the Ram 1500. It's still built in Italy. It's shipped from Italy. It's designed by Italians, and it's now assembled, put in a American-built JL Wrangler. It is a very stout unit. It makes 442 foot-pounds of torque. It gets 30 miles a gallon on the highway, mid-20s city. It's very efficient. It comes with Dana 44 axles and a 373 gear ratio. Those are the only suspension changes you get from this. It doesn't tow any more, though, than the regular 4-cylinder or 6.
And why is that?
Suspension architecture. What most people don't understand about trucks specifically is, yes, the powertrain helps them tow, but a lot of it comes down to suspension design. That's why in the Gladiator, the rear end is largely off of a Ram 1500.
Okay. So you're not going to get this for towing. So what are you going to get it for?
Rock crawling ability and fuel efficiency. So really what you're getting with more torque is pulling power. So theoretically, right, if you're rock crawling or mudding or whatever, you'll have that extra torque to offset the weight of this vehicle. Okay. But these Eco Diesels have their problems. Yes, it was re-engineered for this new generation, but you want to talk about some of the reliability issues?
Yes, so this new generation motor has been redesigned. About 70% of it is new. And a lot of what the chief engineer and their team worked with was looking at the old motor that it replaced, working with plenty of their service departments and technicians to find out where were the failure points that they constantly were dealing with, and there were plenty. I think that was one of the biggest things ever out of the video that we did. People emailing me and complaining, I had so many problems with the previous gen diesel, I would never buy the new one. So this is something that they tried to address. Not just tried to address, they really brought in a lot of the people that they needed to make the fixes that they needed to make. Now, we don't know how this is going to be long term. It's so new, but it's something, if you're worried about it, I might sit it out of here and just to be sure there's nothing catastrophic. But from the feel of it right now, it's very impressive new, and we talk about that a lot. When it's new, of course, it works. So I could see a lot of people investing the money in it, but we'll talk about why you wouldn't maybe when we do the drive.
Scott also brings up all the time that Wranglers are prone to many other failures, and that's just associated with its suspension design.
Yes, there are other failures with this that there's gonna be accelerated wear and failures on certain suspension components that other cars and trucks are not gonna see, just based on the way this is designed to be an off-road capable machine. So you have to understand you're gonna have to budget for some of that stuff. And again, that's something else we'll talk about during the drive.
The last thing to bring up before we hit the road is the trans. It is a all-new unit, still a ZF, but they had to pair a new ZF with this motor because of the torque.
Okay.
It's going to feel similar to a regular ZF gearbox. It's just beefed up.
Did they change like the torque converter, the clutch packs, or what?
The planetary gear sets are beefier, and I believe the clutch packs are as well.
Okay, so it can handle more torque, basically.
I think it's uprated to like 1,000 foot-pounds.
Okay. So you've seen enough of the interior, exterior footage. We've talked about the engine. Now let's take this for a drive.
So we're back. We're back in an FCA pile, Mark.
Whoa, we're in a Jeep, another Wrangler?
Yep.
Wow. What's different with this one?
This one's got a diesel. In fact, it's called the Eco Diesel.
That's right. This is the same engine that we drove at the Ram Eco Diesel launch, and we even got to talk to the engineer about that.
Yes, he showed us its Italian magic.
Yes. So why is it in a Jeep?
Because the owner group, all the people who buy these things, have always wanted a diesel in a Jeep, and they finally have gotten one. It makes 442 foot-pounds of torque, gets 30% better fuel economy, and it tows the exact same as the regular Jeep. The only reason you're buying this is because you want torques and you want fuel economy.
So, there's two things I'm going to say about it from driving it.
Okay.
It does get better fuel economy. If we weren't in cold conditions, I guarantee you'd get in the upper 20s. But for me, I've been getting right around 25 miles to the gallon all the time, which is really good. The second thing that is impressive about it is its level of torque. This thing has a ton of thrust. I don't know that it necessarily needs it compared to the 4-cylinder turbo, the regular 4-cylinder turbo, but it has, when I drove this, I'm like, this feels like what I would expect a truck to feel like. A Wrangler truck, that complete feel has been solidified with the diesel sound and the chatteriness and clatteriness of it.
Yeah, this powertrain fits this character of this Jeep extremely well. It's similar to the 4-cylinder in how it delivers all of its torque down low, and it makes about no power as soon as you get to 3,500 RPM. But I think for the average person who's just, puttering around in their Jeep, going to Long John Silver's, picking up girls at the local Applebee, or driving to their local high school.
Yeah.
This is the perfect automobile for that. It is the right character for it. But it becomes a $6,000 question, because that's how much this motor costs.
That's a lot. That's a huge surcharge for this. I mean, personally, and you mentioned this, we're one of the few people that have spent a ton of time in all the JL Wrangler, all the different drivetrain options, from the manual to the automatics to all of these. And I can personally say, if I was going to buy a Wrangler and I was looking for reliability and the tried and true version, I would take the JL Rubicon with the V6 still. I would still take that with a manual because I feel it's like the most pure version of it. But this is a great addition for somebody that wants it. I can see why people would really like this. I don't know what it's bringing to the table for the cost. If it wasn't as much as it is, like $6,000 is way too much. But if you've been waiting for this to come, you're definitely going to see the benefits in fuel economy, the torque, and the sound.
Yeah, I think there's a great character to this. But if you are like Alex, who owns a JL Rubicon, who likes winding their Jeep out, you're not going to get that experience in this. The manual is the purest version of the JL. Though, that being said, this new 8-speed in this diesel is extremely impressive.
Let's talk about that for a minute. When I got into this, one of the first things I noticed was when you just mash the throttle here for a second. Well, lift, 100%. It's got so much aggressive engine braking when you throttle lift. It's one of the best programmed automatic transmissions I can think of for a vehicle of this type, because if you're on an incline or you're trying to control throttle and you need to get up quick and you don't need that forward progression, a lot of cars, when you lift off on an automatic, they will just continually to glide forward. Whereas this, when you cut the throttle, it stops and engine brakes instantaneously. The shift logic is really smart. When you're braking traction or turning, it's always managing the power very well. And I feel like this is one of the best highlights of this specific diesel truck. And did they make any serious changes to the transmission for this?
It's just beefier for the extra torque that comes with the motor. Okay. Other than that, it's, from what I understand, based on the engineering I've read, it's largely the same trans.
Okay.
With all that being said, though, the powertrain doesn't change the character of the Jeep, right? If you're still coming from a regular CUV or SUV, there are a lot of compromises you'll be making. I am the biggest Jeep apologist, right? I understand these things from a character standpoint have quite a few compromises and flaws, but because of those flaws, it's a likable vehicle.
It is, and you can't judge either the Rubicon or the Sahara like you would any other vehicle, because this is truly a truck with a truck front suspension and the compromises they needed to make in terms of off-road capability, ride height, drivability, all these things. It's like a high-performance car, so that means you're going to have to do more repair work on the suspension. There's no doubt about it. Ball joints are going to wear out way faster on these than it would like a traditional like RAV4. You're going to have to understand that this is not ever going to drive or ride like a regular SUV or truck, because it's not that.
Yeah, the steering is imprecise.
Yes.
Every single day you drive this, It's a wind advisory. It blows around like crazy.
Yep.
It's very noisy because it is a true convertible.
Yes.
The doors come off, all that other nonsense.
But that's also what gives it the character and why there's such a draw to this for people. It took me a while to understand that until I really could drive it. I mean, obviously this time of the year, this is the worst time. I look at this as I would love to drive this in the summer when the weather was good, where I can drop the top, take the doors off, listen to it, feel it. But in the winter, it's just kind of lost. Personally, I'm losing the experience that this is all about, being trapped in here in this like horribly loud interior that you can't hear phone calls in. The sound system doesn't sound good. You're losing. It's like I said, a sports car experience. You're losing a lot of the good things that you could have in a normal SUV. But if you love this, you're gonna make a ton of apologies for it.
I agree.
Final thoughts on the Wrangler Diesel. Now, we did a comprehensive video on the JL Wrangler, so I'm not gonna rehash all that stuff. Needless to say, we had this in one of the worst times of the year. It was freezing, it's cold, and it's like having a convertible in the winter. It's just not a lot of fun, so it kind of can strip away what the Jeep is trying to do with this. But we're here to talk about the diesel option. Now, we put up the MSRP. It's over $55,000 for the Sahara. And we couldn't figure out why or who would buy this for that extra $6,000 surcharge. Now, I'm sure there's people that are out there. If you're one of those people that has bought it and you have a really good usage case, I'd like you to talk about it in the comments, because with how good the 4-cylinder is with the turbo, in terms of performance, torque, and all of that, and also the V6 is tried and true, it's another option. I just don't know why you would spend more for it. But if you're gonna look at it objectively, performance-wise, it's really good. It's less clattery than the old one. I didn't have any problems in the cold with any hesitation or performance issues. The transmission tuning is top-notch. It's really an A-grade game there. And fuel economy was also excellent. And so there's really not any downfalls to it. And, you know, this isn't like a traditional vehicle, right? You go and buy something like, you know, a run-of-the-mill SUV or CUV, you're going to lose your ass in depreciation. And that's one thing that the Wrangler's really good at, is it holds its value. So chances are there's not going to be a ton of the diesels on the market. So you're going to have a higher residual. So that's a pro. But again, this is kind of confusing in the mix. It's great to have it, and I had no issue with it, but I'd be curious to see what you think. But thanks for watching this, and I'll see you next video.
I'll show him. I'll get ripped and punch him right in his fucking teeth. Then he'll learn. Please help me. Unsubscribe, unfriend him. Please help.